Welcome to today's Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we have a really fascinating journey to unpack.
Yeah, I'm a resident expert, and I am so ready for this one. It is a wild ride.
It really is. So I want you, the listener, to imagine, just for a second, a classic American high schooler.
Okay, I'm picturing it like a stereotypical suburban teenager.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Think of the quintessential suburban kid you probably grew up with. We're talking about a girl from a quiet town in New Jersey.
Right?
She's on the cheerleading squad. She's a dedicated member of the swim team. And she spends her afternoons rehearsing with the high school drama club.
So she's doing everything supposedly right.
Totally. She graduates and gets accepted into the incredibly prestigious Fashion Institute of Technology in New York.
Which is huge. That's a massive accomplishment.
You look at that trajectory, and you figure her path is, completely set in stone.
Oh, for sure. You're thinking high-end design, corporate fashion, all of that.
But then, at just 18 years old, she drops out of college entirely. And she does it to enter one of the most controversial, heavily scrutinized, and frankly stigmatized fields in the entire world.
The adult entertainment industry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's an absolute whiplash of a career change.
It really is.
You're talking about someone stepping away from a highly coveted, socially approved academic track, right, and just diving headfirst into a mature media environment that, honestly, a large portion of society actively marginalizes.
Or just pretends doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
And the person we are talking about is Jennifer Hahner, who the world would eventually come to know professionally by her stage name, Aubrey Addams.
Right.
So today's deep dive relies on a really big stack of biographical profiles, career retrospectives, and industry articles to explore her completely unique trajectory.
And we should clarify, we aren't going to focus on the sensationalism here.
No, not at all. Our mission is to examine the actual mechanics of it. Like, how does a performer build a multi-million-dollar personal brand in such a flooded, scrutinized field?
Yeah, and how do they somehow cross over into mainstream network television later on?
Right, all while keeping their actual real-life persona fiercely private.
Because the reality is, building a lasting career in any form of media requires calculated strategy. You can't just wing it.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating here is that to really understand the scale of her success, we have to look closely at those seemingly traditional origins.
The New Jersey high school stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They actually hold the key to her entire professional playbook.
Okay, let's unpack this because I'm looking at this blueprint right now. Born May 25th, 1987 in Westfield, New Jersey.
Yep.
She goes to Summit High School, does the swimming, the cheerleading, the drama club.
Yeah.
Then she gets into FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology.
Which, again, getting into FIT requires a serious portfolio. It takes intense dedication.
It's not a safety school.
Not all.
So in 2005, at just 18, she just drops it. What drives an 18-year-old to abandon a clear, respected path in fashion for something carrying so much societal baggage?
It's a huge leap.
It feels like, I don't know, it's like someone training their whole life to be a classical violinist, playing Mozart every single day, only to suddenly smash the violin, pick up a Jackson guitar, and join a heavy metal band.
That's actually a great analogy. The contrast is definitely jarring.
Yeah.
But I'd argue the leap isn't as random as it appears when you look at the underlying psychology.
Okay, how so?
Think about her background again. Drama club. Cheerleading. These are inherently performative disciplines. They require a deep understanding of an audience. You need an acute awareness of your physical presence and, the ability to project a specific energy outward.
Wait, so you're saying she viewed this incredibly controversial field simply as another stage?
The sources strongly suggest she did. I mean, if we connect this to the bigger picture of her personality, VAFA is a brilliant school, right? But fashion design is ultimately a behind-the-scenes discipline.
Yeah, you're not the one wearing the clothes.
Exactly. You are the architect, not the mannequin. You're sitting in a studio analyzing textiles and garment construction.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Right. So for someone who thrives on the immediate feedback loop of performance, the kind you get in theater or cheer, that academic, invisible environment might have felt really stifling.
She wanted to be the center of the visual narrative.
Precisely.
But still, to choose adult entertainment as the outlet, that comes with a massive social cost.
It does, absolutely. But it also offers a uniquely low barrier to entry for immediate high-visibility performance. Well, assuming you fit the desired demographic.
Right.
She recognized the performative nature of the work really early on. She's been quoted saying that what she does on camera is essentially creating a fantasy. It's a show.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if we view her decision through that lens, it looks much less like a random teenage rebellion and much more like a calculated, albeit highly unconventional acting pivot.
That actually frames it in a way I hadn't considered, moving from behind the camera design to front of camera performance.
Yeah.
But taking that initial leap is one thing, right? Actually surviving in a hyper-competitive space requires real business strategy. And she didn't just casually test the waters.
Well, she sort of did, but the way she did it was wild.
Yeah. Her very first scene in 2005 was tied to mainstream shock media. She filmed a scene featuring a well-known guest from the Howard Stern show, a personality known as John the Stutterer.
Which is just a masterclass in growth hacking, long before we even use that term.
Right.
In any media landscape, the hardest hurdle for a newcomer is discovering an audience.
Yeah, getting anyone to pay attention.
Exactly. By attaching her very first appearance to a figure tangentially related to one of the biggest radio broadcasts in the country, she essentially borrowed Stern's massive audience.
That is so smart.
She completely bypassed the obscurity phase that kills most new careers.
It's the ultimate shortcut to visibility.
Yeah.
You don't build an audience from scratch, you just step in front of an existing one.
Exactly.
And following that initial exposure, she travels to Los Angeles. And I love this specific detail from the bios.
Oh, the 3 weeks thing.
Yeah. She originally planned to stay in LA for just 3 weeks. A quick trip, test the waters, see if this is actually a viable career path.
Just a trial run.
Right. But the immediate demand for her work led her to stay indefinitely. It's funny how often a temporary 3-week trial run in a new city ends up dictating the next decade of a person's life.
It happens so often because momentum is intoxicating. But, staying in Los Angeles, which is the absolute epicenter of mature media, means facing the highest concentration of competition on the planet.
For sure. Everyone goes there.
Right. So if you want to scale a brand there, just being present isn't enough. You have to create what business analysts call a moat.
A moat.
Yeah, a competitive advantage that others can't easily replicate.
And she definitely found her moat. She leaned heavily into her unique physical traits to stand out in a flooded market.
Yeah, her look was very specific.
She's extremely petite. The sources note she is just 4 feet 10 inches tall, which is about 1.47 meters. She's naturally blonde, with striking green eyes, and rather than trying to look like the conventional stars of the era, she deliberately embraced body modification to further define her look.
Which was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, she got specific tattoos on her right abdomen and hip, and added multiple piercings.
And that deliberate cultivation is where we see her real business acumen. I mean, in a market where consumers have infinite choices, being generic is a death sentence.
You just fade into the background.
Exactly. Addams recognized that her petite stature was her distinct competitive advantage. It allowed her to corner a hyper-specific niche.
Right. She wasn't for everyone.
By adding the tattoos and piercings, she created a trademark silhouette. She wasn't trying to appeal to every single viewer. She was establishing a highly recognizable visual identity, so casting directors and fans could instantly identify her.
It's essentially the blue ocean strategy. You don't try to outcompete everyone in the bloody, crowded waters. You find a unique space where you are the undisputed top option. Yeah. Speaking of building an audience, if you're enjoying the vibe, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. It really helps us out.
It really does. And once she established that undisputed dominance in her niche, the workload she took on was staggering.
Oh, the volume is insane. Looking through these career retrospectives, the sources vary slightly, but they cite anywhere from over 360 to upwards of 600 combined video and photo credits before she retired from the controversial field in 2017.
600.
Let's just pause on that.
Yeah.
600 credits over a 12-year career. That's essentially producing a new piece of professional media every single week, nonstop, for over a decade.
It's unbelievable.
The sheer physical and mental stamina required to maintain that schedule is mind-boggling.
It really speaks to a relentless work ethic. And she wasn't just churning out, low-tier work to pad her resume.
No, she was at the top.
Right. She was heavily recognized by the industry's critical bodies. She was nominated for the XRCO Award in 2006, the Fame Award in 2007, and the AVN Awards in 2008 and 2009.
So she reached the absolute pinnacle of her specific industry's hierarchy.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because typically, once a performer is that deeply entrenched, that recognizable and that heavily decorated in adult media, The door to traditional mainstream entertainment isn't just closed.
It's deadbolted.
It is deadbolted. Mainstream casting directors generally won't touch that resume with a 10-foot pole.
Because the stigma is usually an insurmountable barrier. I mean, traditional media is deeply tied to corporate advertisers who are notoriously risk-averse.
But she breached the wall. We see so few people successfully cross overs from mature entertainment into network TV, but she did it.
She really did.
She successfully booked roles in traditional mainstream film and television. She was in an indie movie called Wanderlost in 2010. She appeared in Aftermath in 2014. But the credit that absolutely jumps off the page is booking a role on the hit network TV series Chicago Fire in 2012.
Yeah, that's huge.
We're talking primetime NBC network television. How does someone with hundreds of credits in a heavily stigmatized field even get in the audition room for a massive show like Chicago Fire? Was this a deliberate attempt to rebrand or just a natural expansion of her acting?
I think it's the latter, and it raises an important point about the mechanics of Hollywood casting. To get that role, her representation had to pitch her not as a novelty, but as a legitimate dramatic actress.
Right, they had to take her seriously.
Exactly. And for a casting director, and more importantly, the network's standards and practices executives to approve her casting, her audition had to be absolutely undeniable.
Because if she's just okay in the audition, it's not worth the potential PR headache for the network, right?
Precisely. She had to be so exceptionally good that they couldn't afford to pass on her. They have to weigh the perceived risk of her background against the value she brings to the scene.
And clearly, the value outweighed the risk.
Right. Booking a mainstream network procedural while actively working in her primary industry, because remember, she didn't retire until 2017, so this was right in the middle of her career.
Wow, yeah, 2012.
Right. It proves a level of raw, fundamental acting talent that transcends her primary brand. It goes back to that New Jersey drama club.
Oh, full circle.
Yep. She knew how to inhabit a character, hit her marks, and deliver dialogue under the pressure of a massive network television set.
It totally shatters the preconceived notion that performers in mature media are just, one-trick ponies, incapable of traditional dramatic work.
It absolutely does.
But this brings us to a part of her story that genuinely surprised me. We've spent this entire time dissecting Aubrey Addams.
The brand.
Right, the performer, the brand, the person who stood in front of cameras for hundreds of productions.
Mm-hmm.
But to really grasp her story, you have to look at the massive wall she built between her highly visible career and her intensely private reality.
It is a phenomenal example of psychological compartmentalization.
It's almost unprecedented. Think about modern influencers or performers today.
Oh, they share everything.
Right. Their entire business model usually relies on parasocial relationships, sharing their morning routines, their breakups, their messy apartments.
Everything is content.
Exactly. But Jennifer Hahner, despite working in an industry built entirely on creating a false sense of intimacy, kept her actual private life locked in a vault. The biographical sources are incredibly thin on anything outside of her career statistics.
Which is incredibly difficult to achieve in the digital age. I mean, we know she's single. We know she has no children.
Right?
But aside from that initial, heavily publicized Howard Stern-adjacent encounter at the very beginning of her career in 2006, her romantic life is a complete black box.
And the few details we do have about her off-camera life are beautifully mundane. According to the profiles, her primary hobby is reading.
Just reading.
She just likes to sit quietly with a book. You compare that to the chaotic, hyper-visible, controversial world she worked in every day, and the contrast is just staggering.
It really shows that she drew a hard, uncompromising line in the sand. She was perfectly willing to sell a visual fantasy, but she outright refused to sell her reality.
Wow.
And structurally, that discipline paid off immensely.
Oh, absolutely. The financial estimates place her net worth between $1 million and $5 million. So she secured true financial independence completely on her own terms.
That's incredible.
So what does this all mean for the listener? How do you reconcile the hyper-public Aubrey Addams with the quiet book-reading Jennifer Hahner?
Well, I think the key to reconciling those two halves lies in a very specific quote she gave, which was highlighted in the sources.
Oh, what did she say?
She said, I don't think any parent would want their child to do this, but this is what I love to do. And I think we all have to live our lives the way we want to.
That is a wildly pragmatic statement.
It really is.
There's no grand, sweeping defense of the industry, but there's also zero apology for her participation in it.
And that's what makes it so profound. It reflects an incredibly high level of self-awareness. I mean, she doesn't live in a state of denial about the societal baggage or the parental stigma associated with her field.
She openly acknowledges it.
Yet in the very same breath, she asserts absolute uncompromising autonomy over her own life choices.
She basically says, I know you don't approve, but I'm driving the car.
Exactly. She recognized what she wanted out of life, which was performative autonomy and financial freedom, and she executed a grueling 12-year business plan to achieve it.
And it worked.
The fact that she can now live a quiet, private life reading at home while sitting on a multi-million-dollar net worth is the ultimate proof that she controlled the narrative from day one.
That is such a good point.
There's a common societal narrative that people in her industry are inherently exploited by it. Her trajectory suggests the exact opposite. She utilized the industry to secure her own permanent freedom.
That's such a sharp way to look at it. She utilized the machine. She didn't let the machine consume her identity. Let's pull all of this together for you, the listener, because the journey we've tracked today really defies conventional logic. We started with a New Jersey high school student juggling drama club and cheerleading who earns a spot at the Fashion Institute of Technology.
Right.
From there, she makes an incredibly calculated, high-risk leap into a heavily stigmatized field. She essentially builds a 12-year, highly lucrative enterprise by defining her own hyper-specific niche, leveraging her unique physical traits, and outworking her competition with hundreds of credits.
And just when you think you understand the parameters of her career, she breaches the supposedly impenetrable walls of mainstream network television.
Yeah, Chicago Fire.
Proving her dramatic capabilities on primetime NBC before quietly retiring on her own terms.
All while keeping her true self, Jennifer Hahner, entirely shielded from the public eye. It is a brilliant study in brand building, physical and mental resilience, and the power of personal boundaries.
It really is.
Which leaves you with a final thought to chew on. In an era where the lines between traditional media, controversial content, and mainstream pop culture are getting blurrier by the minute, why do we still demand that performers fit neatly into just one designated box?
That's the real question.
If someone has the talent to successfully act on a massive network drama and the business acumen to dominate a highly stigmatized industry, maybe our rigid definition of a traditional acting career is what actually needs an update. Maybe the classical violinist and the heavy metal guitarist can, in fact, be the exact same person.
The fantastic perspective to leave off on.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Keep questioning the narratives, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.